I'd like to welcome everyone to the Charlotte Amateur Radio Society July Zoom workshop. Topic tonight is JS8, and our primary presenter will be URP Dave, K3FHP. So I'll turn it over to you, Dave.
What is JS8? JS8 is a pretty good program that is meant. The name of it's JS8Call. It was developed by Jason Shear, KN4CRD, who is not. He's been in amateur radio a few years now, but he was a programmer, communication programmer. So he was a buddy that we used to talk to all the time on a pro mode called FSQ. And FSQ had a lot of great features, but it was dead in the water. It wasn't going anywhere else. It was a very similar type of modulation, but it was not as robust as this was going to be. So what Jason did was took the ideas of FSQ and the software modem in FT8, since it had very good sensitivity. If you look at the picture there, if you're seeing the screen, you see the that little red squiggly line to the right. Back in the old days, the digital mode we had was radio teletype and Morse code. Then they came up with this wonderful teleprinter mode, which you actually type and send. And it has changed over the years, but basically it was two frequencies that made the mark and the space. Now we're using 170 hertz shift because of our wonderful electronics that we have today. But back in the day, we used 850 cycle shift. There was 850 cycles between these. Took up a lot of space. But that was still 45 baud, standard teleprinter. Although, again, that's all we were allowed to send back then. Now we can allowed to send not only Baudot, but we can send ASCII. We can send a lot of different things at a lot of different speeds. But that's what we started out with on teleprinters. And then things got better and they were improved. The FSQ, as I was talking about before, is another excellent. Everybody see the FSQ up there now?
Yep.
Okay. That was developed by Murray Greenberg in Australia, and it was really, really pretty interesting. You could do a lot of different things with it. It had different speeds, kind of like JS8. And it was kind of wide, though. It was 290 hertz wide, which is not wideband by any means. But we took your signal and you compressed all your data to 290 hertz. And the baud rates were kind of slow, and the speeds, as you could see, were kind of slow. But it did a pretty good job. And all around the world, I used to chat with guys and send stuff, and it was really, really a neat mode. One of the nice, interesting things about this mode is that it uses what we call incremental frequency shift. Many of the other modes send multiple tones at the same time, often in a gray code, like there are two different tones for each frequency, on each frequency at one instant to make one letter, two different tones, next time slot to send the next letter. But incremental frequency shift only sends one tone at a time. And it shifts that one tone, and whatever that tone is, it explains what the characters are going to be. The advantage of incremental frequency shift is a couple of things. Number one, the exact tuning of the receiver is not critical. Number two, it is resistant to Doppler shift. So it doesn't get hit up as bad with Doppler. And the next would be that you don't need a very linear transmitter to send it. You can use a Class C transmitter, a Class D transmitter, which are much more efficient than Class AB1, which is what your single sideband transmitters are. They have to be linear. Otherwise, you're going to have all kinds of distortion and intermodulation. You have like a voice signal with multiple tones going at the same time. So it worked pretty well. Then we came up with a mode that everybody is very familiar with here. But FT8 is a mode that looks very similar
Doesn't JS8 share the same basic encode decode engine as WSATX, Dave?
No, it does not.
Okay.
That's the so what we have, is it uses the same modem. It uses the same modem.
Okay.
So okay, everybody know what a modem is.
Mhm.
That's not so what Jason did, what he did was take the JS8 modem, which was very sensitive, and it is good down to minus 24 under good conditions in the regular mode. But he created other speeds as well. He made a slow mode. Now, slow mode, unlike the 15 seconds that it takes for an FT8, takes 30 seconds. But at 30 seconds, it is as sensitive as Whisper. It's down to minus 31 dB. If you can't get something through very slowly with slow mode, you're probably not going to get it with anything. At the same time, it has a turbo mode and a fast mode. Fast mode works almost every place that normal mode would work. And all the functions, including the automatic heartbeat responses, all work in the fast mode. Everybody see the window open there?
Yeah.
The speed window? Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as you have your auto reply checked and your heartbeat acknowledgement, and that will automatically send back responses to messages, to heartbeats. It'll acknowledge a message that's sent to your inbox. Those will all be done automatically. If for some reason you don't want your transmitter to go off and do all that kind of stuff, you can open this window and uncheck those boxes, and you'll be okay. Now, the other one you want to make sure is heartbeat networking. You want that clicked so that it will send your responses to PSK Reporter. I set my decode sensitivity at 2 passes. Gives it an extra chance. If you set it too many passes, number one, it takes a lot of horsepower on your computer, and you'll also start decoding messages that aren't really there. You'll start getting odd call signs and things come up and appear, and it's really trying hard to come up with a call sign. So that's basically our how this functions. But let's go back to anybody want to go back to the setup thing. Let's finish this part. This is the main screen, and this is where your business is going to be. This is where your speeds are going to be. So this is what you have to set up whenever you turn it on, because sometimes it may change on you in between. So you make sure those are set up. Now, tune, we know what that does. It'll tune your transmitter on. It does a couple of things. Really hoping I can get this camera working to show the ALC. I use that in setting up my ALC. I'll tune and then go down to the slider here and adjust it till I have a little bit of ALC or the maximum power setting. That's the basic. That's the basic part of that part, and I use that sparingly. I want a little bit of ALC. I want enough to give me my maximum power output. Another way to do that is hopefully everybody here has a power meter outside after the transmitter on in your line to your antenna. I will adjust this until the output power stops going up. If I pull this down at a certain point, you'll see that output power just drop, and it's not linear. All of a sudden it'll just drop. So you adjust that so that you get your maximum power until the point where as you keep raising that up, power does not go up. As soon as that starts not to go up, you back it down a hair, and that'll be the good spot. It'll give you your maximum power output without overdriving. You don't want to overdrive. You'll see people overdriving on the waterfall all the time. You get a big red blotch and things sticking out on each side of it. One of the bad parts of that is that it will distort the signal such that it won't decode as well. So we want to give it the best chance to decode. Now, talking about decoding, if you look over here on the left, you'll see this is your basically your S meter, but it's not an S, it's an audio dB. As long as that's green, you're probably okay. Jason recommends 30 to 40 is plenty dB to get good decodes. If you put too much drive in there, that will get turned red, and that you definitely need to back down. Different ways to back down. You can put an attenuator. You can turn down your RF gain. You see, I'm going to turn my RF gain down here. You see how that drops down? So you can adjust that with your RF gain. As you can see, even though that RF gain down, it's still got a good presentation on the waterfall. It just doesn't disappear. So if I put that up at about 40, where Jason recommends, then I should be optimum. I may need that higher though if it's a real weak signal out there that I'm looking for. So that's your receive side, and it's adjustable by your audio, by your audio. If you're running something like a signal link, you can adjust it on there. If you're running from an internal sound card, you really can't adjust that here. You have to adjust that in your menu in most radios. It'll give you an output. I think I have mine set at 50%, and I just leave it at that, and I do the rest using the RF amplifier, RF gain on my receiver. Too much gain is bad for a number of reasons. Number one, it will increase the noise. Now, if you see the background noise, it should be black. Anything that's not black is some kind of noise. Now, if you see a change, there's a very slight change on the waterfall. I turned off the first preamp. The first preamp was on. I want to show a difference in the noise levels. If I turn the preamps on, you get a little more noise. If there's noise there to begin with, it'll make a lot more noise. So this is our general screen. How did we get here? Okay, let me go back a step. Jason made a whole bunch of communication protocols, many of which were existing in the old FSQ program, but he added a lot more. He changed the coding, so the codes are not interchangeable. You can't, as you probably know, you can't decode an FT8 signal by putting this program on it and vice versa. He came out with a much better forward error correction, as well as some internal coding to make the most common things shorter. A lot of work was done in just the coding system, so that to get the most communication. There are a lot of things that are sent in very short codes, even though they say a lot when you print them on the other end. When you set up to begin with, you come up with your initial page. One thing everybody here should do is have call sign groups, which are you can refer to as aliases. If you send something that shows up is in this call group, it will show up as if it were sent to you personally with your call sign. You know, the things that are sent with your call sign will show up in the center top window. That's your receive window. You see, mine's very small. I can make it big if I want to, if I was getting a lot of traffic. Under normal circumstances, I'd rather see more of what's on the call window on the band, and I'd like to see more of what the stations that have called me. Okay. So everybody can put in @sign. That's the prefix. You can put any number of really good things out there that people have set up for group calls. For example, you might put @CQDX if you just want to call DX. There are some people have that in there. There's @CQ Aries. There's a whole bunch of them. If you look there, I would suggest that everybody who has not go to the JS8Call.com page and go to the downloads and download the manual. The manual is very good. Jason did a really great job in setting up the manual. And it covers most of what you need. There's also, by the way, a groups IO page for JS8Call where you can throw around a bunch of wild things that may come up that you might want some answers with that we can't get here. So you can put a bunch of different calls in here in the call group. Everybody here should have @CarsFL, so that when we get on there and we do that, we can do an @CarsFL, and everybody will get those messages into their box. Your Maidenhead grid square is important. Obviously, your call sign. When you request someone else's station information, which we'll show you how to do in a minute, which I'm sure many of you have done, whatever you put in this box will come out. So you can put anything in that box. You could say FT9000 Loudon Boomer or whatever else you want to put in there, and that will come out. Usually you want to make it short, so there's sort of shorter transmissions, but you want to let them know what you're running, what your power is, what your antenna is. That's what they want to know. And station status, you can put anything you want in station status. When, again, the other station requests a status, that's what you send back. Behavior is something that is different for everybody depending on your taste, but I like to see my distance whenever it shows the distance in miles, not kilometers. I want my receiver on when I start it up. I don't want it turned off. And I want my transmitter off at startup. I want to allow frequency changes while transmitting. I want to immediately transmit a reply. If you don't do that, it will ask you if you want to send a reply message or not. So you usually probably want it to send it right away. So you check that. Write all log files of decoded text. I don't remember how many alternative word choices it suggested to me. I can't speak to that one, but I checked it anyway. And I don't want to reset my band activity. If I turn it off, sometimes in my computers anyway, I've got old ones, they kind of lock up. I'll have to stop the program and want to restart it. And then I want it to come back exactly where I was and show what I saw on the screen. So you want to make sure you don't reset the activity. And I check for software updates at startup. Remove call signs from the activity. Activity screen is the screen over on the left. That's your activity screen. Okay, and the call screen's on the right. So I want to disable the clear of the call activity, because I want to come back. I want to leave it there overnight, and I want to see who was on that frequency all night when I was asleep. So I disable that. And on the right one, which is the one I'd be looking for now to see who I might want to talk, the left one rather, who I want to talk to over here, I have that clear after 30 minutes, but it can be any amount of time or disabled. But it gets pretty crowded if you don't clear it yourself manually or disable it every so often. This little symbol down here, everybody here should know, is the end of message symbol. It could be another symbol if you like. You're allowed to change that. That is up to you. That'll tell you when particularly when a multi-part message. In other words, your message is going to be divided into segments depending on how many 15-second segments, 10-second segments it takes to send it. At the end, it'll give you the end of message symbol. So you don't want to start sending back to the guy while he's still sending the rest of your message. So you want to wait until you see that symbol come up. If a character is not decoded properly, it will give a symbol. You can make it whatever you want. The default are dots. So if you see a bunch of dots coming through decoded, that means those characters, it got enough of the message for the call signs and whatever, but it did not get a couple of characters in there, and it replaced them with dots. The networking, we want the heartbeat transmissions to be available. I like mine to be available outside of the 500 hertz band, the lower 500. So I might need to move out of there if there's something going on, some interference. I don't want to do heartbeat responses if I'm in the middle of a QSO with somebody. So I tell it to pause while I'm in the QSO. Turn on auto reply at startup. And I don't ask for confirmation before sending an auto reply. And I don't want to disable message relay. And and here's where you come in. You can set it up so that you will only respond to the guys you want. In that case, you put those call signs in here. If you want to never respond to somebody you don't like, you put their call signs in here and you won't even send a heartbeat back to them. So in the future, I'll know why nobody's answering my heartbeat since I told you that. The idle timeout disable, I have mine as, I'm probably going to put it up higher. If you're not doing anything, it'll stop sending auto replies after that. Radios. Most of you are doing it, have your radio set up. You can pick the radio you want. There's a long list of radios. And there are different ways you can operate the radio. If you have an old radio, or you don't want to use radio control at all, you don't have to. You can manually change the frequency to where you want to go, and you don't have to use any radio control at all. In fact, I've run this thing for years just with two audio cables between the mic input and the headphone output into a radio and use Vox to control the transmit. And I did that for years, and it worked just fine. On certain radios, it didn't have all the features. But on the 991, or probably most of the radios you have cat control, and you can select cat control for your push to talk. If you don't, you can select Vox, which means you have to turn your radio's Vox on, and that will make you transmit. That works just fine too. The mode here, I have to put data and packet because I want on my radio, if I do that, it will make the radio go into data mode, and it will take its signals, not from the mic input on the front, but from the data outputs on the back or through the USB. Okay. Split operation, I put fake it. You can fake it or none. We don't really do fake split operation on JS8. And if I want, then when I get that done, if everything's working, I hit my cat test. And if it's working correctly, I get a green bar. And if I want to see if my push to talk works, I push that, and that'll get a red bar and if that's working. Okay, so that's the radio. The audio is even simpler. You have to know, though, where your audio is coming from. Most of the radios with internal sound cards have codecs. If you're using a Ring Blaster or Sound Blaster or Tigertronics, it's coming from a codec also. So you have to have the right codec. Okay. So if you have several things going on, you have to make sure you have the right one. Also, another important one I use is transmit. Remember the power settings by band, which means it's supposed to remember, because for what reason, I don't know, it may take different power level. When I say power level, that's the green slider over on the right. It might take a different position on different bands to get the same amount of ALC, the same amount of power output. This supposedly will remember that. It does much of the time. That's all that. Reporting, the important things is to have your spotting to the PSK reporter, your enable spotting to APRSnet, and other things you might want to, if you want to, for example, run to, I've got it connected up to N3FJP, and he gets his stuff down here through that interface down there. So it'll log here to log into N3FJP or N1MM or whatever else you're going to use. Frequencies. These are frequencies over on the right that have been our basic standard JS8 frequencies, but you can add them, you can subtract them, you can do what you want. And also you can set, if you're on radio automatic control with your radio cat control, you can use this scheduler down here. Say, okay, at 8 in the morning, I'm going to go from 4 to 20 meters. And at 6 o'clock at night, I'm going to go from 20 meters to 40 meters. And at 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to go to 80 meters. Whatever you're going to do, you can make a schedule for that, and it should follow that. Save messages. I don't have a lot in this version. I just loaded this one up. You can set up any number of messages here, and you add them by just typing whatever you want up top here, remembering how many characters it's going to be and how many you're going to send for each 15-second transmission. So keep it short, different kinds of CQs, different kinds of whatever. And then when you type what you want, then you put add, and then it'll add it to the list. Notifications. I don't want to be notified about anything. You may want to know about some of these things, but I like my machines to be quiet. And the fun part is user interface. It doesn't come with the colors that I have set up. It comes with black on, like a yellowish kind of background. I don't like that. I like light characters on a background. Your mileage may differ. You can set up any combination of foreground and background for any of the boxes you want. For the call and band activity, for the message activity, which is in the middle, and for the compose part where you're composing messages. So you can do any of that you want. Any questions? Anybody want to go back over any of those? Okay.
All good.
Quick question for you, Dave. On your preloaded messages, where on the operator interface do you invoke those? Let's say you want to send one of your pre-set up messages.
Observe. In the middle, on the bottom, you click the saved.
Oh, okay.
And they all appear. So if you want to put them in the middle, all you got to do is go down there and click on them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, yes, see, Leonard was there 15 seconds ago. Very good. KL4CY at a big plus 14. I think we could communicate with any of our folks anywhere in the country, almost any time of the day or night on either 40 or 20 meters with JS8, almost regardless of conditions, if they have any kind of antenna at all. It's just that good. So, one of the most important things, the neatest things about JS8 are the directed messages. When you click on a call sign and it highlights that, why did it skip off of there? I clicked on there. Okay, that's called selecting a message. That's selecting a call sign. Whatever I'm going to do, the thing I'm going to do relate to that call sign now. If I want to change my mind, I can deselect right down here, the deselect button. That'll get rid of them. But I can go and select it. And once I select it, then I do a right click. And once I do a right click, I have a bunch of choices. One can be to do some of the things that are already here. These are common things. If I wanted to relay a message to check relay a message, I can do that. I don't know what that other call sign came. It switched on me again. I don't know about that. Okay, so I could relay a message, have KO4HCY relay a message to somebody, even if, well, how would I know that? What would I know if he could hear me or not? Who he can hear? Okay. So for that, if you put your call sign, if you put over a call sign, yellow box will come up and it'll show you who he hears and who hears him.
Wow.
That will give you a great idea. Okay, I'm going to relay it. Okay, this guy hears him and he hears him. I can relay to this guy through this guy. Neat, huh?
Cool.
Now, if I look over on the left here and I see something going on, I don't really see much going on there other than heartbeats. Well, there's something. There's A5UN. Okay, so if I put over here, you see that other box up, I can see all the text that he has sent on that for a period of time. That's on from see that? So you can actually see all the text that anybody has sent by putting the call over there on the left side here on the band side, band screen side. You can see all the data that's in that text, even though you see only a part of it in that window. So that's another great good hint to see what's going on. So we see who Chuck's hearing, and we can see who hears Chuck. That'll give us a good idea how to relay if we want to relay. But let's say I'm not really listening to relaying. I'm going to go down here and store a message. I can store a message in my inbox for him so that he can come back later and get it, even if he wasn't on at the time. That's a great feature. And let's change it. Okay, so I'm going to go to directed messages. And this is the selection, right, we have right now anyway, of the directed messages I can send to KO or whoever I've selected as a selected call sign. The neat thing about it is it doesn't send that whole big line of text that you see there. So it's not going to take 3 minutes to send that call sign. Please take this message and send it in your box for retrieval by such. It's not going to send that. It has a code that it's going to send in one transmission cycle that will convey that message. Now, it may take 2 transmission cycles if the call sign you're sending is longer complex and what you're sending goes over the character limit for that one. But basically, the command is only a single transmission block. So people say, oh, okay, somebody called CQ. What do I do? You go to directed messages and you go back down here. And the normal thing that most folks do on JS8 is send back this one. How copy? Which is what you do actually a lot of times on CW or on phone too, right? So you send that back and that's sent in one transmit cycle. And if they're sitting there looking, it'll come back and light up on their center box, and it'll show that their call signs are called, and you're calling them back. Of course, you could just come back, and then if he does that, you can say down here, Roger, I copy. Or you can send whatever you want to send. You can freeze type it. You can use one of your stored messages. You can do a bunch of stuff. And you see a bunch of these other things are things you normally send in Find Business, 73, into contact, dit, gives you, let it go, the old CW, dit, you can just send that, and you'll type dit at the end, but it doesn't take all those characters to do it. So here are all those different things, message IDs, query messages. Do you have any messages for me? Okay. Also, by the way, if you send a heartbeat, the answering stations will send back if you have any messages stored in their inbox, either from them or from somebody else who's relaying them. So all it takes is a heartbeat, and you can see if that station has any messages for you. It's a very good communication mode, particularly in the turbo and the fast mode. It really can get messages through, not lickety split, but very reliably under conditions where you'll never get a phone signal through. You may not get a Wimling message through. You may not get even a CW message through, but this will work. No repeater necessary. No internet necessary, although it does help to all those other things we're seeing, like who hears who and all that. That comes through the internet. I have to admit, that comes through the internet. PSK Reporter, which is another great tool to use with this and any other digital program. You can, for example, I have one of my is that I call it a QSO. If for example, there's a guy in Scotland the other day, so he heard me with a good signal, so I sent him, asked for a report. I gave him a report. I asked him for his station information. He was running 10 watts with an IC705 and a long wire. I sent him my information back. I sent him 7.3 and a message to his inbox. Thanks for the contact. Now, that's not maybe officially a QSO because he wasn't at the keyboard. I don't know. But to me, that's more information than I get in the average DX contact, either on phone or CW. So you can do that. That's a lot of fun. Also, what I like to do is I'll take somebody out there that asks for a heartbeat. There's one of my buddies, K1TWT. See him up there. He is he's in Massachusetts. When he's got the P, that means he's operating out of his loop antenna in his shed. He's got a wooden tool shed. They won't let him put any kind of antennas up. So he's got, but he did actually manage to sneak up an off-center fed dipole. But he operates with, if you look at on KWTWT on QRZ, you'll see a picture of his tool shed and his homemade loops, and he also has an MFJ loop. So that's what he uses when he's on the loop. He let you know he puts the slant P on there. But there's all kinds of fun things you do. You can talk to somebody and get a signal report. Like now, let's see if get one from Marty there. I'm at 30 watts right now. And let's see what we get back here. I'm not seeing a response. So it's a good way to operate this, and I think we could probably come up with some net protocols. That's the one thing I've been looking around for. The best ways to to operate a net, obviously you can do it by having net control operates on the even seconds, and everybody else responds on the odd. They still might, some people still talk over each other, and they won't be able to hear what everybody else says if they're transmitting. But we could you could do it as a controlled thing and say once you get everybody checked in, then you call each individual station for a response, and then it'll be one station at a time. And for some reason, I didn't get Marty. See those dots? Those dots mean he didn't decode. Good example of that. Now, somebody down here is really driving a lot of audio. And I can see that. You see this up here? This is the second harmonic of this station here at 800. See that all that audio? He's overdriving that audio. So we hear the second audio harmonic is decoded by our receiver in our program, and it makes it harder to operate. Now I'm gonna say I wish I could get this camera working, and so there are a couple of other tricks that you can do with JS8, and I would direct you to the JS8Call manual for the details of some of it. But for example, we talked before about enabling. You saw when we did the setup, enable the APRS forwarding. That means that anybody that has done that, if you send an APRS request, you can send your signal report that'll come out on the APRS map just as if you were sitting down there with a whole APRS setup. You can tell them, we're going to spot that on a map someplace. And you do that by sending @ APRSIS space grid, GRID, space, and your grid number. It's usually a 6 or 8 digit grid number. And if you send that, anybody that's got that enabled will forward that to APRS. Now, if that's not neat enough, there's also kind of an experimental thing that's been working on that works. Last time I tried it, it lets you send an SMS message to your telephone, to any telephone on JS8. And it shows the whole sequence there, but you do the same thing, @ APRSIS space CMD space colon SMSGTE. That's like SMS gate, SMSGTE space colon the telephone number, and then space and your text. Look at the manual. It'll give you that in detail, and that will show up on the other person's phone. So again, that's using the internet, but not necessarily here. It could be 1,000 miles away, and you can send the SMS message to somebody with that. I don't think there are other things that are being worked up or not. It's kind of an open source program. If you go to the groups.io, right now people are just having fun and learning what's here now with this one. And So let me see if I can do something to this. Camera is plugged in and he is turned on.
It might have dropped its COM port. You might want to unplug it and replug it back into the USB there, Dave.
I did that. I did that. And he's
Dave, I have a question.
uh-huh.
Is there a way to type in a specific call sign and send a message?
Yes. Type in the call sign.
Do you just type it into the outgoing message?
Type in the call sign, the outgoing message, space, and type whatever you want, and then hit enter.
Okay.
The cursor must be in that box when you hit
Okay.
enter for it to send it. It's a free form type of thing. It's not just stored canned messages. It is completely free form. You can have, and actually it's pretty good if you go, for example, to as it says, turbo mode is about 40 words a minute. That's like twice as fast as PSK 31. That's a little over my typing. Typing's good, accurate typing speed. So you can send, and it's good. I think to like minus 18. I think in turbo. So if the signals are stronger than that, you should be able to operate turbo. I use fast a lot. It's pretty good. It takes 30% off, and I notice about 3 to 5 dB less of a signal report when I'm using fast as the regular. So again, and the neat thing about the program is you can tell how many dB is going. These signals are all strong here. Look at all these things. Some of these you can operate sideband, 13 dB, 17 dB, 18 dB. So that's strong enough to support a single sideband signal, even voice. But so you could send at any speed you want with signals like that. It's got a message from Marty. I just did the APRS trick. Cool. So I don't know.
Hey, Dave, I have a question. It's Greg.
Yeah. Oh, well, wait a minute. I think I might have got my camera back here. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you chase when you initialize or start the program up? Do you chase or hunt the offset, or are you going to start receiving messages regardless of whether you're on a hot hertz there? Like you're 901 right now. Do you jockey that around when you first turn it on to catch a signal?
Okay.
Regardless.
Okay. The key to all of this, and by the way, it's the same key to FT8. Let me see if I can. I got the camera working. Let me see if I can stop share and here again. And okay, so you can still see that pretty good, right? That's through my camera looking at my monitor. I've got a little monitor sitting next to my radio, and this is the radio. So when I go to transmit, I'll go to tune. And if you look at the ALC, I don't see that working right now. Let's see. For some reason, I'm not transmitting right now. My radio's going in the transmit, and I'm not putting out power. So we'll have to look at that. Maybe it's this. Yeah. The problem was I have the headphones in, and the headphones unblock the signal to the rest of it. Anyway, so one of the things I want to show was the difference. As if you can see here, this is what your signal looks like. It's, as you can see, there's only one tone at a time, and that tone will vary between frequencies depending on the character that it's spinning out. That's what gives it its, among other things, all your power is being concentrated into that one tone. All your, whatever power you're putting out, rather than spread across kilohertz, 2-3 kilohertz with a sideband signal. Also, it's a pure, it doesn't mix because there aren't two tones at the same time. And this is what basically those tones, if you compress it up, those are your different blocks. Several blocks of transmission would come out looking like that, separated by the, for example, it's 12.6 seconds trans and 2.4 seconds decode. So that's how it's broken out in the 15-second cycle. So hey, there we go, Scotland. See that one there?
Hey, Dave, I've got a quick question for you.
GM0 DHD.
So,
And these are minus 13, which is not a bad signal.
is it better to
So there's
use?
a lot of DX out there that could. There's a lot of folks on. They haven't spread off 20 and 40. One of the ideas, of course, of JS8 as a communications mode rather than a play in DX and making contacts, you want to know where to find the other guys you want to talk to. If everybody's on all these different bands, look at search, hunt, and DX, you're not going to make contact with them. But the idea of I can find my guys either 20, 30, or 40. And whatever they are, that's where they're going to show up.
Hey, Dave, a quick
So,
question. Do you prefer USB over data mode or data mode over USB? Does it matter?
Yeah, fortunately, I'm not hearing when okay. Let me plug back in here where I'm not transmitting. I'm not hearing what anybody's saying. Go ahead, Marty.
So do you prefer data mode or USB, or does it matter?
Data USB is the correct mode for most Yaesu radios.
It seems like USB is more sensitive, though.
No, it's not.
It's not?
Well,
Okay.
why do you say that? The only reason it might be because of other settings you've made on your radio. Remember, they follow the mode. The settings you make on your radio follow the mode.
Yeah,
So if
just
you made them on one mode,
it seems like with Vera AC, it's works better on sideband than it does on data mode. I'll change my settings and switch over to data mode, see if we can tell anything.
Hey, Dave,
yeah,
is there anybody on the call that is not able to run JS8 tonight?
I don't know. Is there anybody here that does not already run JS8?
Who was it that was it Rick that didn't have a general?
Rich.
Rich. Okay. Is he still
Yeah.
on?
Yeah, he's still on.
You're muted, Rich. You're muted, Rich.
I don't. Does he have a setup to run the mode?
Oh, yeah.
I have it installed and I'm running it. Yes.
Okay, well,
JS8
we
Call.
could. We could. I don't know. I don't know if 10's still open or not.
Well, I switched over to 10, but you don't have to. I mean, I don't think Marty could.
Well, we could. I can see. Let me.
I know Leonard couldn't
It-
connect to us.
It's just that quick. It's just that quick to switch over to 10.
I can jump up to 10 real
So-
quick. I'm gonna jump up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it'll be quiet.
Yeah.
Let's it'll be quieter.
All right,
Yeah.
just sitting at a heartbeat.
We see that.
All right, I just sent out a heartbeat.
Okay. At about 1,550.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see it. I see it right there. You're 0, 0. That's a pretty good signal. Yeah, I mean 10 meters would work, 6 meters would work.
Marty, did you send out a heartbeat?
I did,
Yeah, he did. It's right here. He's right here. See, there's his heartbeat
but
right here.
but I didn't see VK1HAM. Now I'm in data U. I'm gonna switch back to sideband and see if that makes a difference.
Yeah, I see Marty's heartbeat answer to VK1 HAM, but I didn't see the heartbeat from Marty himself.
I didn't see Marty at all.
Well, maybe that's all better. But we're
All right, so here's a heartbeat set upper sideband. And I'm running 50 watts on 10.
Okay.
Going out. Oh, yeah, it's not making the trip.
No.
Marty, did you see my heartbeat or not?
I did not. Try it again. I'd switch to USB. I'm going to see if that copies better.
I sent it out on 648. If that makes any difference.
I don't have anything.
Well,
okay. Did you get that, Rick? Did you get my heartbeat response? Should be in the middle window.
in the middle window.
Yeah,
Okay.
up top. The top part of that middle window is your receive. All that other stuff, it's hard to people usually, oh, receive messages should come in the big window. No, it doesn't. The receive, well, you can make it a big window. As you can see, for example, if I didn't care about the band here that much, okay, I could make that window big.
I've got a response from Dennis.
Okay. I could make that big, but then I wouldn't know who was on the band. I could make this smaller, but then I wouldn't. If I didn't care, I might want to see that. I can see more because I slide it over. But the distance and that at least the grid square. But you can. That's the other thing that I forgot to mention. All the things you see
I got some.
are selectable. All these different items we see in both the band screen and the call sign screen are selectable. In other words, you probably want the call sign in the call sign screen, but age isn't your age. Age is how long ago the message came in. I can have that column there or not. The signal strength, I probably want that there too, but I don't have to. The offset. What does the offset mean? Anybody want to tell me what that offset means?
That's where you are in the packet.
Transmit and receive.
It's where you are on the waterfall. That's where that signal is on the waterfall. So if I want to say, well, gee, okay, that signal there, okay, I know that's him because that's what the frequency was, the audio frequency was on the waterfall. So that's how I can pick you out which of those waterfall signals is which station. You probably want the time on there because you want to know if you're too far off time with the other guy, and maybe that's why he's not hearing you. And you definitely want to know what speed they're transmitting, although you can, by looking at it and see it, you can figure it out. You want the speed. Now, so, and how do I get all this stuff? You go to View. And if you open up View, you'll see a whole bunch of these things. That's one great thing about this, where it's so customizable to what you want to see and what you feel like seeing today. For example, we look at band activity. Band activity is this thing over on the left. It gives me what columns I want to see on the band activity. I can check them or not check them. I can say, how do I want to sort it? By the frequency, which means where it is from the bottom up to the top, or do I want to sort it by signal noise ratio, the strongest ones? I only want to see the strongest ones up top, the strongest ones here, and they get weaker as they go down. You can sort it any way you want. Call activity refers to this right screen here. This is the call box, and all these things across here, I can select. I go under call activity, columns.
Wow.
And I can put which columns I want to show up and which columns I don't want to show up.
Dave, I have a question.
And yeah.
On your on my waterfall, I have I'm going to call it a transmit bracket in red for the offset.
Right.
I don't
Right.
see that on your waterfall. Oh,
Yeah, it's right here.
oh, yeah, mine has
It's right here.
big red lines that go straight down.
Or mine has little yellow lines go down.
Yeah, mine too. I've got the
Mine
red
doesn't go down.
lines too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there a
Well,
protocol of where that should be set?
Okay. The only protocols are, per se, normally heartbeat responses. Remember, well, we check that box because I like to be able to give it outside that if I want to. But normally, if you don't check that heartbeat response outside the 500 hertz, all of your heartbeat responses will occur in that yellow spot right in that yellow area. And then that will not interfere then because they're automatic and they won't interfere with QSOs going on. But you can make your transmitter anywhere you want just by clicking the, obviously, just like the other, just like FT8, you do a left shift and a left click, and it brews that little red U, and that's where you're going to transmit. And the receive is with the click with no thing. But we don't really need a receive thing because you're going to decode everything that's on in the water in the whole bandpass. So, but
So
if you want the other trick, here's the other trick. If you want to see a station here that you don't have, it doesn't have your call sign in it, and if you want it to appear here in the center, you put your red dot, your red bar over it, and then it should appear in your center communication window.
I'll follow you.
So would you want to move that transmit box to a blank spot, or it doesn't matter?
Absolutely. Just
Okay.
like FT8. I always move my transmit box. I always have that transmit hold box checked on FT8 when I use FT8 because I want my transmitter to be where I put it. I don't want it to follow where I click. See, on FT8, when you click on, you have to click on the to get the call signs in the box to transmit. You have to click on the guide's call sign. Well, that automatically will move your receive box to that guy's frequency. And if you don't have if you don't have the transmit hold on, it'll move the transmit to his frequency too. I don't want to transmit on top of the CQer. For one reason, a lot of people are probably going to be trying to answer them on that frequency, and I want to be someplace else.
You're talking about FT8.
So I always, yeah, but that holds true of any of this. You always want to transmit where other people are not.
Okay.
That just makes common sense. That makes common sense. So again, you keep your eye on this. See, KM4LKC hasn't set his clock for a while because he's not that that's so far off it won't work. It'll work off for a second and a half. I've had work off, even 2 seconds. Now, question: who wants to answer this question? Is it important for everybody to have their time synchronized with a time standard, international time standard?
Probably would help.
Will it work well, the important thing though is you're synchronized with the people you're communicating with. If we all got together and says we're going to set our clocks 10 seconds off, everybody in the group going to set their stuff 10 seconds off. We'll all copy each other perfectly, but other people might not. The important thing is that you have to be synchronized with the people you're communicating with. The absolute time is not important. It's the relative time has to be synchronized. That makes sense?
Yeah. I know one of the times I fired this up in the last couple of days, I was getting an incoming signal, but I wasn't decoding. And until I synced my clock, it wouldn't decode. Once I synced the clock, it started decoding.
Absolutely. It does a much, much better job in the presence of interference, of weak signals, of this, that, and the other. It does a much better job when it's the closer it is. There's no question about that. Because it knows when to start. It knows when to start receiving. Hey, there's one, a ZL1RCC, that's New Zealand.
As far as time goes, Chuck, and anybody else, what we did for field day this year, all the computers had a utility called NetTime installed. So it basically goes into your Windows settings, and it makes sure that your your computer clock is synced with a time standard.
Kind of
Yeah,
works automatically, doesn't it?
It does. It works in the background. You don't have to remember to sync once it's installed.
Yeah. Marty suggested it a while back and I loaded it and I haven't touched it since then.
Yeah, I've got it running on all my computers, whether they're radio or not.
Yeah, I'm running NetTime as well.
I think this is a pretty cool program.
Now, I just sent messages that should be being relayed through the Kiwi, the ZL1, and then the VK1 HAM. So see if you get those. They're acknowledging the receipt of the relay.
Wow.
You still on 10 meter there, Marty?
I am.
Okay. Yeah, I see some very, very faint things in the waterfall, but not decoding.
That's gotta be the VK, because I have a -10 on the VK1 and a -10 on the ZL1.
Yeah.
Oh,
So let's see if Rich and Dave get those messages. Sent one via the Kiwi and one via the Aussie.
If you get up late at night, you see there's a lot of stuff coming in, like New Zealand stuff. Remember their time shift. Oh, there's Australia and New Zealand on there now in the last couple of minutes. And pretty good signal strength too. You should even get them in fast mode.
Yeah, I switched to just regular. I put it on slow mode for a while, but they're printing me in fast mode.
Oh yeah. Well, you see, that's the neat thing. You can, by looking at these signal strings, you can tell how strong they are and what speeds you can operate. Because it's all math. You know, these guys in New Zealand, he's -11. You could work faster turbo. You should if that was signal strength at a -11. And you know you can move yourself wherever you want. You want to move yourself wherever other people aren't. Now there are some folks that are doing other frequencies. I've seen some JS8 guys. There's a net they have up at 104, 701, 7104. Occasionally, it can be almost anywhere. But you want to be in the data band. Remember, you can't use data in the phone band. The exceptions to that are fuzzy modes. Okay, that have been declared by the FCC not to be either digital or voice modes, or they're declared to be fuzzy modes. And you can, for example, slow scan TV, digital slow scan TV. Remember, the idea was, well, whatever the mode is you're doing, that's where the band is supposed to be. Well, but what if where's digital voice going to go then? Why put it in the voice part of the band if it's the same thing as a data signal? So, facsimile, Elscriber, those are fuzzy modes.
There is no signals on 10 in my neck of the woods.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, it's very interesting when you're seeing all these decodes. I'm not getting anything on my waterfall. It's pretty dead here and up here in the northern climes for some reason.
Maybe the Canadians are sucking up all your signals.
Maybe.
Well, I'm printing both VK1 HAM and ZL1 RCC.
Me too.
And I'm getting them, like I said, at -10 apiece. But do we want to go down to 20?
Why? If you're minus 10 on 10, why to go to 20?
Because I'm not copying anyone else but those guys way in the distance. Hi.
Well, right now, we go to any band, but it's interesting, the tech and novice band. I try to come down here quite a bit. What I'll do is, here's what I do at the beginning of the day. During the sunshine net, whether I'm net control or not, I'll get on and I'll start at 10 meters. Actually, and I've never got it beyond 6, but I had to slow them down to FT8 the other day. I got like 5 states during the sunshine net on 6-meter FT8. It was the opening, but I go 10 meters. I do a heartbeat or two, 12 meters, 15 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters, 80 meters. And then I jump over to PSK Reporter and take a look and see who's seeing who.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
How do you know if your clock isn't synced in with the JS8?
Oh, now this is working. Good question. How do we know if the clock's not synced in? Well, the important thing is, how close are you in time to everybody else on the air? Even if the whole world was off by 5 seconds, you'd need to put yourself off by 5 seconds too if you wanted to talk to them. So look over here on the right. You see the time delta.
Right.
Time delta is important. That's why I'm sure to display that as one of my choices of display. See, most of these guys here were within a couple of 100 milliseconds.
Okay.
And
so what is
except for Chuck and Doug. Chuck and Doug are about 0.7 seconds off. Still, way close enough for communication.
It is.
So
okay.
You want that to be as close to 0 as possible.
Okay, so I got 2 signals on 10 here. One is at 500 milliseconds. The other one's at minus 800. So they are plus and minus of the standard.
You'll still copy them, but I mean, it could be better if they weren't. Now, the question is, are they off or are you off?
Good question.
So are you wearing your time sync program?
I sync using Microsoft.
Yeah, Dave, I think your Dimension 4 time is off.
A what?
That I think the Dimension 4 time is off. Net time seems to be syncing with a different time, just gauging by the people that are running net time here.
Well, first of all, who are you syncing with on Dimension 4? And when's the last time it synced?
Yeah, I don't use Dimension 4, so I use net time.
Okay. Well, I'm synced to the Naval Observatory in Washington, so it's usually been keeping me within a couple of 100 or 200 milliseconds.
Hey guys, you could check your time by going to time.is on a web browser.
Yeah.
That's not close enough. That's not near close enough. I have to see if I bring it up. Yeah, you see my Dimension 4?
No,
Now you see it.
no.
Okay,
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
you don't see it. You got to see it now. I see it. It's in the camera.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, I have him. I haven't looked at the U.S. Naval Observatory in Washington, and he synced at 8:25, and I'll go with him.
I got 826.
It's 8:26.
Well, now because I did it a minute ago. No, that's when it synced last. It
Oh,
only
I
syncs
see.
every so often. It
Gotcha.
doesn't have to sync continuously. It syncs every so often. Okay, now it'll say 26, and I just click the sync now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
But it
I've
didn't,
been going with him for 10 years.
so it didn't change anything though on your Delta.
It won't change. It won't change that until they transmit again,
Oh, that's
if
true.
at all.
That's
In
true.
other words, that's the signal. That was the last time they transmitted.
Right. Yeah, it's too bad. Well, I mean, Chuck, you're going to have to run a heartbeat or something. I don't know. Will a heartbeat trigger that time?
Anything you send will come up there.
Okay.
I'm running one now.
All right.
What frequency are you on?
Oh, I'm still on 10.
Okay, thanks.
How much power are you running, Chuck?
It's on 50.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sending out a response.
I changed it a little bit, 8.99, or was that what it was?
It was $6.99, $7.99. I'm on with Dennis. I'm at 200 with Dennis. So I don't know about you.
I can see VK1HAM responding to all your heartbeat requests. He's responding to Doug's.
Right.
Is he
Right.
responding to mine?
Yeah. I don't know about you.
Let's see. I don't see yours yet.
I sent a
Well-
heartbeat. I sent a heartbeat out just a little while ago at 100 watts.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and nobody's hearing me.
So, yeah, I didn't see him respond to yours, but
Okay, Dave?
Okay, VK1HAM, he hears Marty. He acknowledged Marty, and that's about all he hears.
What does it mean when there's
Yeah,
a
go
star
ahead.
next to a call sign?
That means you've QSO'd with him before.
Okay.
That must be a
On that
setting.
band.
now if you relay through someone, which I did these guys, where does that message show up?
Well, if it should show up in the left-hand window. You'll see it in the band activity window,
Okay.
and you'll just see his call sign in the right window. But if it's not to you, it won't show up in the middle. It'll show up if you sent it. It'll show up in the middle window as another color. I have mine set at kind of light purple, but whatever color you set it at, it's a different color in that center upper window when you send it as when somebody sends it to you.
Okay.
But again, those colors are all settable. But as you can see, Rick, you can there's all over the world is coming in on 10 meters at the right time and the right whatever. Sometimes timing is a lot, you know, to those Australians and a lot of DX. I'll wake up sometimes if I, you know, get up at 1, 2, 3 o'clock. I have to wake up to pee or something like old men have to do in the middle of the night. I'll run to the ham shack and see what's going on the bands and see if there's something interesting happening. And,
Who is
then
VK1?
an hour later, my wife comes in looking for me to see if I ran away.
Hey, can you guys go to 20?
Yeah.
Sure, we got a 20. You got a 40.
We can go
You
to
go to
40.
80.
I can work
Where
with
you
40
at?
real well.
20 or 40? Which one?
What?
20 or 40 are we going to?
Let's take a look here.
Can
Let's see
can
what's on
everybody
40.
go to 40?
40 is usually pretty busy.
I cannot go to 40, but that's okay. The XYL got home, so I probably ought to pay attention to her.
Well, we can go 20.
We're good.
20 will work. Let's
20,
go
I-
to 20.
Here,
And you can tell Tinker's saying hello too, Dave.
K4 BGU. I can't do any of them because I'm working on a small laptop screen, and the most I can do is get you guys in the class on here. Over.
Okay.
Rod,
so
I guess.
what you need, Rod, is another little monitor that, about the same size as the laptop, and you can stick it in as a second monitor, and that works wonders. That's what I'm using right now. I don't know if you, I pull this back.
So
Yeah.
I was
Are
lucky
you going-
to
I've got
sneak
this little monitor and my laptop up there.
Yeah, no, I was lucky to sneak this into the bedroom.
Hey, Dave, I want you to go to 20 and see what my time delta is.
Not going to be any different on 20 than it is on the same program, the same everything.
You weren't getting my signals though on 10.
It's not the time. The time is going to be, the time is the computer. It's not going to change by changing bands. It's not
My
band
point is
dependent.
you weren't receiving my signal, so you weren't seeing me.
No.
You
Right.
will on 20.
Well, I see you right on the computer screen right there.
Yeah. come in another heartbeat. Thirty 300 milliseconds. Is
There you
what
go.
you're seeing on your screen. Yeah. So is that a good number or
that?
not?
Well, it's a number.
So
I sent you
Rich,
back. Did you get my heartbeat? Did you get my heartbeat response?
I did.
Rich, did you get a message from that
200
VK1H?
milliseconds.
And what and
I
what
Very good.
was that number,
I
Leonard?
sent him back. I said,
What was that
say
number?
hi to AA5UN. Thanks. 73.
That's wild.
And what was that number, Leonard? You
What
got?
number? What number are you asking, Dave?
The heartbeat response that I gave you.
Hold on. Let me see here. Where is it? Plus 15.
Right, and you don't know if that's good or not.
No, not that's a signal report. I'm talking about the time delta.
Okay. Time delta was 300 milliseconds.
It was 300. So is that a good number or not? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's good enough.
And it's good enough. So what about
Good enough.
BFK that on your screen here just shows a minus 1700 milliseconds?
Yeah, well, he's out in left field. He's getting ready for the next field day, but it still works because if
It still
within a couple of
works.
seconds will work. Leonard, if the signal is strong, you can be a little bit more off in time. What the timing does, it allows it to pick up the more sensitively the weaker signals, because it knows when it's exactly going to start, so it knows when to start looking. If you've got a strong enough signal, I've had guys 2-3 seconds off, but the idea is to make it as close as possible, and it's not hard to get it close. And you see, everybody else is much closer than that. Except for that guy in Mexico, he's a 1.9 almost. But that's, but it still works. But the idea is to get as close as possible. I can get 1.9 manually just by looking at my clock and setting it with my ear from WWV. I can get that close. And I've done that, and it works. The other way to do it, there's another trick that you can do it, and I forgot to read up on it because I never use it, but you can get yourself to set based on the other station's timing signals.
Well, I guess the point is I'm not seeing any value.
But that's good.
I'm not seeing any value in this time delta. So what? So
you are, because if it was 3 seconds off, 3 seconds, I wouldn't hear you. I wouldn't decode. I'd hear you fine. I wouldn't decode you. And it's a sliding scale. It's a two-way scale, Leonard. The stronger the signal, the more forgiving the timing error.
Really?
Okay? At plus 15 is a very strong signal. Plus 15 is single sideband strength. With that plus 15, you could probably do a two-way sideband contact. Okay?
I'm sure we could.
Minus 15, not so much.
Right.
Okay? So that's the whole point.
I know. I understand.
At plus 15, you could be probably 2 seconds. You could be 2.5 seconds off, and I would still print you. But if you're minus 15, probably not.
That's
Question, Dave.
That's kind of strange. I don't see the correlation with time versus signal strength. To me, that doesn't make sense. If the program is working on a time scale and breaking up the time in segments, everybody should be doing it at the same time. It's very similar to FT8, I would guess.
Very similar to FT8. Yes. Right.
And usually you can get almost dead nuts with folks on FT8 and not have 1.7 seconds off like we're seeing on your screen right now.
Well, that's the computers involved.
I know it is, but why are they so far off if everybody's using network time around the world? It seems to be further off than what FT8 can tolerate.
It's the start time of the node is what it does. It lets it know exactly when to expect the signal to start. And that helps it decode weak signals. It's more critical the weaker the signal. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah. So Marty responded to my heartbeat at a plus 12, and what am I putting out here? I'm down to 50 watts. So we could, and I'm running normal speed.
Most normal people run 20 to 30 watts on JS8, and they're heard all over the world.
I know.
I'll even
Until
like
it gets crowded.
Well, then you move away from a crowd. Then you move your little cursor there to a spot where everybody else isn't, and then it's not crowded anymore. So far, thank goodness, I've rarely seen JS8 get that crowded.
Right. There's times with FT8 you can't find a spare an open
that's
spot.
Different. That's different. But it's I like to go in there. I'll play getting signal reports from a guy at a power level. Then I'll go down to 5 watts and see how many dB difference, how it matches, and it's usually within a few dB of actually the number of decibels of the power change. It's really science works. Now, it's not meant to be a QRP mode. It's a weak signal mode. Just like Joe Taylor said, FT8 is not a QRP mode, but it is a weak signal mode. So at the same time, you shouldn't drive with a lot more power than is necessary for the communication, because it lowers everybody's sensitivity in that whole bandpass when a lot of high-powered signals are in there. It will actually lower the AGC. Now, here's the other thing which I may think I missed. The recommendation for digital modes. Anybody know how should you set your AGC?
What?
On my radio, it's automatic.
Well, you can use automatic. The recommended is either off or fast. Since it's in a digital mode, it may automatically know that in a digital mode, I go fast if you're in auto, but fast is what they recommend, or off if you're for these modes.
And why is that?
Because otherwise, if a strong signal comes in and hits you, it's going to take several seconds for your receiver to regain its gain to be able to pick up the weaker signal you may be also listening to.
Oh, not
So
my
if it's
radio.
big, strong, if it's big, if you put it in slow, it will. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what slow AGC is supposed to do. It's meant to work for single sideband. That's what slow AGC is for. It's for single sideband, because it will keep it from being choppy, the voice being choppy. But you can put it in any position you like. It's your radio, Leonard.
And I do. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't had any issues so far. So anyway, but it's a new radio to me. So Marty, did you get my last transmission?
So here's another thing that most people have it set up. If it looks like this, you're okay. If your waterfall looks like this, but some folks, they'll find their waterfall is too long or too short. Some people, hey, it's only going to 1600. The adjustments for the waterfall are over on the right. They don't have to be.
Leonard,
there
I did
is
not.
a thing in the view where you can actually turn them off. Show waterfall controls. If you have show waterfall controls turned off, you won't see the waterfall controls. They'll be gone. So if you have the waterfall controls on, you go over here to the right, and you'll see there are 3 tabs. One is to actually control the waterfall, and the other is the display, and the other is timing. The important ones to change these are display. It'll give you an offset, and then the timing. The bottom and the top, 2500 the top, and should be 500 at the bottom.
Got it thin, Leonard.
Yeah, I had to boost the power up to 30.
I just spent the last 20 minutes trying to shrink everything on my screen enough to get it on here. Can't do it. It kept locking up.
Okay, so what you do is I start at 300. Some people start at 500, but obviously some people that at 500 or 400, so I want to catch them all. So I start my display control to viewing at 300 hertz, which is right down here at the bottom. And now if you change the bins per pixel, on the waterfall, that will change what you see there. For example, if I reduce the bins per pixel, it'll reduce the size of the waterfall. Now it's at 1400. So I'll bring it back up. But when I see up to 2600, I have it at 4 bins per pixel. If I want it wider than that, I can do more. And the palette and the color, speed of the scroll in frames per second. If you want it to go faster or slower. And I have mine at N1, which gives me my fastest presentation. I don't need super high resolution there.
Hey,
And
Dave,
that's
I
it.
got a question on the waterfall.
Yeah.
At 2500, it goes to yellow.
Right.
Why?
Those are the strengths. This gives you the strength of the signals.
No, at the
It
top of
starts
the
at blue.
No,
Oh,
at the top of the
Okay,
waterfall.
right. That's because at 2500, because I have the top. If you look, remember down here, I have the top set. Where is it? At 2500. All right, the bottom is 300, and with the number of pixels, that's you don't normally are not going to see after 2500. You're not seeing JS8 signals anymore. You're probably seeing FT4.
Oh, okay,
Fact,
but why is that? I mean, is that just the configuration for JS8 or what?
That's where they operate.
Okay.
FT4 operates between 80 and 82, just like FT8 is between 84 and 86, 74 and 76.
Yeah.
And in JS8, okay, so most of the signals you're going to see, even the ones up here, some of the ones up here at 2200, 2400, you don't see them on the band scope here, right? We don't see them here. We only up to see 1888, but we're seeing signals up here at 24, 25, because those are not JS8 signals. Those are FT4 signals. So that lets you know the top of the band where you're likely going to operate is 2500. Most of the time it's 2000. Above 2000, you're going to start running into FT4.
Oh,
That's why some people will reduce the size of this because they don't want to even see those in their waterfall. But at the end, on occasion, when those guys aren't there, I see JS8 signals there. So. You know, when Marty puts cars FL in there as a prefix, I and everybody else that has cars FL in their call groups will see it in their center communications window. Now, if we were running more this as a communications text exercise, I could make this window bigger and I could reduce some of these because I'm not looking for random people. I'm just looking for specific stations out there. So I don't really care about a lot of it. I can make this smaller and I can make this a little bit smaller. If I assume everybody's going to be at the right time. See, a couple of these guys are almost in there with me at 100 milliseconds, 0 milliseconds. Marty must have reset his clock. You set your clock, Marty? Marty still there?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Look what happened when Marty reset his clock. It's now 0. So it just gets it closer. It'll work.
Hey,
But again, if the signals were weak and marginal, that being closer to the correct exact time will help it. Just helps decode easier. Marty?
I answered my own question. I want to change it to your color scheme. That's more pleasing than what I've got now.
Oh yeah, I hate the default color schemes. That's the first thing I do when I some people will make the left one a different color, the right one a different color. I just want something that I can my old eyes can read. So change the font from the default. I'm at 14 bold. It's bold or not 14, and you can change what the fonts there, the size and the style. Be careful though; some of the fonts don't play well with FT8, JS8. What is this call sign group? Marty, go tell them. What is that? We're getting
Who is that?
famous.
No,
I don't know
who is
who
that?
WD8.
WD4KAB.
That's what I just said. I don't know who that is. It's not one of our guys. Dang.
It looks like XE2 is in our group too.
He is? Why?
Well, he's got a star by his name.
No, that just means you've worked him or you
Oh, okay.
sent him
Okay.
messages.
Marty, was that dinner you sent me a picture of?
You know, that is a molcajete of a Mexican joint. It is a joint. And it was really good, but as good as that one is, someone on Neighborhood said there's one that's even closer, that's even better. But I thought you would appreciate that.
I saw that. Looked delicious.
Yeah, it was cheap. I mean, like I want to say $12 or $13 cheap.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, thought you'd enjoy that.
Yeah, so yeah, somebody sent a message to WD4KAV tell them to go to parsfl.org.
Hey, what's up?
I don't know where Pulley Up is. Pulley Up, Washington. This guy's in Washington.
Leonard's
That,
computer crashed. Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
You're back.
Yeah.
he's in Pulley Up, Washington. Tell me he's
No, that guy I talked to yesterday, remember Chuck? I was JS8 him when we were trying to do our testing.
Yeah.
So he must have recognized my call sign and wanted to know what Cars FL was.
well, he sees all the Cars FL getting transmitted across the thing, so he wants to know what it is.
Yeah. I think he's new to JS8. I didn't really have a long time to talk to him, but he was running 100 watts. So I don't know if he knows how to use this program yet.
Hey,
Well, he's got an extra license. He's got to know everything.
hey, Dave. So I'm there. I'm looking at the user interface to change the colors. Is there not like a dark color scheme? How did you get that? What you've got?
Okay, well, I'll pull up the user interface.
Yep.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff in there
Yeah, there
to
is.
be able to change. Right. As I say, it's very flexible. You can make it, you can wreck it any way you like. But okay, band and call activity. Okay, that box on the left, the big box on the left,
Yeah.
is the band activity. The one on the right is the call activity. And as you can see, I have mine set up for a blue background, yellow characters, and I've got Tahoma 14 font. I think it's only about 10 or 12, the default font, smaller. If you make it too big, it takes up a lot of space. And if you pick an odd font, it's not, sometimes they're not happy.
Well, and if you
That's,
if you make the foreground of the messages the same color, they're invisible, which is what I did a second ago.
yeah, well, you can always fix that. But, okay, so these are the selected row background, right? You saw when I selected somebody's call, it turned that purple. And
Okay.
with yellow on top. That's I selected that. I wanted that color. Red is a directed message to me. Green is a CQ background. Light green, dark green, primary highlighted, and down here, secondary background. Now, if
Okay.
I can go down to messages, which is the middle boxes. You'll see the middle boxes are black, right?
Yeah.
And then I can pick the color I want for the text box color, foreground color, background color, for the transmitted message, the received message. Okay, so I can change those colors of the font, so I can tell the difference. And then composition is the as I'm composing down here. This bottom one where the outgoing messages are. So that's how you can basically make any of the boxes anything you like.
Yeah, that's going to take some fiddling around.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think I'm going to jump out of here. Good to see everyone. I
Okay.
really enjoyed it.
Good to see you, Marty.
All right, guys, y'all take care.
Good
You
night,
too.
Marty.
Good
All
night,
right, good
Tamara.
night.
Hey,
Wow.
later. 7-3.
So, yeah, I know everybody has seen this. I've shown this thing before. See if we can, it'll show it up, I think, light here. But it again gives you the idea of the relative sensitivity of these different modes. Reference to CW. CW is in the middle. That's the neutral one. And how much more robust and more sensitive the different modes are. And that's why I love digital. Now that's combined with the receivers too. The receivers themselves have different sensitivities on different modes. Come on, focus. So the average receiver has a big difference in sensitivity as well. So, and I know the guys got it before. Just the reason I was wanting to use the camera so much is I had printed some of these things up. We saw before the that's for the APRS and the messaging. But just go to the JS8Call.com and look at the guide, the user guide, and all that stuff is in there. It's really a pretty good job. Hasn't been a lot of new development in the last year or so, but It's gaining a lot of traction overseas, a lot of DX coming in now with it. And the neat thing is the people don't even have to be at their keyboard to get full exchanges of information both ways on the signal reports, the rig you're using, sending a message for their inbox. And lots of days I'll get a message back in the inbox. Sometimes I'll get an email back from somebody. There's a lot of good intercommunication. Like with everything, I always go to QRZ, just like this guy that we just see that asked about Cars FL. That's that guy right there. He's in Washington. So that's good about the portable camera. This is the same camera, by the way, we used a couple of years we used Chuck at the club meeting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And the
Leonard,
autofocus
was it
Huh?
you that we were talking about the drop down box on the directed tab
okay.
that you had? I
Me.
finally got that drop down menu. And
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure how I got it, but I saw on Dave's screen, he did not have the drop down menu on his directed tab.
Okay, well, you do, if you do the right thing. Now there's two. There's one drop-down menu. It's an initial drop-down menu. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's time to go back to directly to the screen. Let me.
So Dave, what we found is on the directed tab, some people have a drop down arrow and some don't.
Okay, directed tab.
So deselect.
Right, you're right. You
Yeah.
right click on it.
No, deselect Dennis.
Okay.
Okay, see your directed tab? I have a little
Right.
drop down box on it. So once I select somebody, I can go right to that and drop down.
Right. But if you don't select him, you don't see the directed tab doesn't light up. The directed tab.
See how your
doesn't
save
light
tab
up.
next to it has a drop down arrow on the
Yeah.
save tab?
Right.
My directed box has a drop down arrow. And I think I right clicked it to get that drop. There
Like
you
that.
go. Right
Left
now
click.
you
Left click.
use that drop down arrow to go to your canned message calls. Left click on that.
Well, I didn't have to. I just had to click on directed message. And all those things popped up. Yeah, what I see, that's one way to do it, and that was in a later version. They added that. I'm used to the older version. In the older version, you click right on the guy, you do a right click on him, and then that gives you a couple of quick messages, like to store a message, to forward a message, or directed message, and then you just go like that. I find that quicker. I know some people like to have buttons to do it down there, but I find if I just go to a call sign, right click on it and slide down directed message, and I've got my box right next to me, and I can do all the same stuff. Same box. There's two ways to get to the same place.
Right. But with using that drop down menu, you can just highlight the call sign and go right to the directed message.
Right.
And hit that drop down arrow and you'll get that. Yep. Click on that drop down arrow.
Well, actually, you don't have to click on the arrow. You can click anywhere in the box.
Okay. And you're getting that window up?
Yeah, but it's on my other screen. I've got two
Oh,
monitors.
okay.
It's on
Okay.
my left.
That's why we
It's on
don't
my
see
left
it.
monitor.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want, I mean, I think I can. No, it won't drag over. It's on my other screen.
Oh, that's all right. But when you do it the way you were doing it, it came up on this screen.
Right. It
When-
came up right on this screen.
Yeah. And
To
then
me,
it all
that's
came
quick.
up.
I mean, right. But all these things are really, really pretty good. I'll send I'll send these guys all kinds of stuff to again, whether they're there or not, all over the world. You get this, and a lot of them. Here's the other trick: the stations, a lot of stations won't respond to the heartbeat, but they will respond to a directed message. So what you do is you go to PSK Recorder, which I was going to try to pull up someplace here. One of my places has it. Pull up PSK Reporter, which I had all set here, and I don't know where they all went. Okay. Okay. So let me do this now. Let me share again. Okay. It's PSK Reporter. So let's say we want to look at AA5UN. And if we look at all bands over the last hour on JS8, and that's where he's been heard. I like to use that so I'll do that. I'll go through band after band. Alaska, all over Europe. See, where's this one? Sweden, Switzerland, Spain. See if any more. Oh, yeah, we're back when we were on 10 meters. Here's the guys, the Australians, and we were on 10 meters. You heard two of them, heard them. And then when you click over them, you go to, okay, ZL1RCC. He received him at minus 12, and he's using a dipole. And let's see the guy in this guy in Alaska. He's got an IC 7300 and fed half wave, and he received them at minus 21. So I mean, you can just put out heartbeats and look all over the world to see where you're getting heard and what the guy's rig is and what they're receiving you on. So what you do is, let's say that guy, minus 21 is kind of weak, but you might be able to get him. So, or these guys in Europe are pretty strong. Let's say the guy in Sweden. So you get the guy and you get his call sign, and so send him a signal report, and then maybe request a signal report, or then send a message to his inbox. And a lot of times you leave it there, and the next day you get a message back. But I'll go during Sunshine Net, I'll just go in and go from 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, 40, 80, and then see where I'm heard. So at any one time, with your antenna, your power, whatever you want to run, you can see who's hearing you anywhere in the world. And you can pick one of them and try to communicate with them. And often you'll be successful. To me, that's fun. I know to a lot of guys, they just want to see how many DX contacts they can work in an hour, which is great. But and then I'll go by the one guy, let's say, and I'll change my power level. And I'll say, okay, let's see what I can get it to 20 watts. When I get it 10 watts, and then I'll find a point where he drops out and they can't hear me. But that's It's all part of the game. See where, let's see if Earl held, let's see, got Leonard. And that's all the places Leonard was hurt. He might not have hurt him, but well, look at Alaska, all through Europe here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Excuse me,
Thank
that's
you.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't hearing anything. That one guy, yeah, what you're pointing to right there in the Dominican Republic,
Right.
10. Yeah.
So that's what I do. I'll get on and I'll do that, and I'll see where I'm heard. Now, another hint to give you a hint, that's why I put all bands on there. If you look down here, you'll see how many active JS8 monitors or stations that are connected, internet connected, so they can get these reports on each band. Right now, there are 104 on 40 meters, 65 on 20, 19 on 30 meters, 10 on 10 meters. There's a big contingent, by the way, on 11 meters. I think it's 27,246 they hang out on. If you go there and play on there, make sure you take your call sign out of the settings box, so in case it gives a response. But they are there, and they're using. Sometimes there are more of them on 11 meters than there are on some of the other bands.
Isn't that CB?
It's not even CB. It's outside of CB.
Really?
It's they call them freebanders. Freebanders in between CB and 10 meters. They're all over the place. No man's land. Okay, so those are a lot of the fun things that you can do using the internet still. And
All right, guys, I'm gonna say goodnight to you.
are there any questions? Any questions about utilization of it or what? Again, it's power. You don't need a lot of power to do this. You can do that by trying it out with a power and look and see where you're at. Is whether you're minus 21 or plus 21, it's going to decode the same. It's going to if you're decoding 100%, you're decoding 100%. Makes no difference. Also, the drive, the audio drive level. Look at your radio manufacturer suggestion for the ALC. You read a lot of stuff, you see stuff, and you say, oh, no ALC, no ALC. Well, that's from the old days of amplifiers and stuff. And if you're running KW linear, the ALC, you shouldn't be having ALC at that end. But at this end, the exciter end, you need, depending on the radio, a certain amount of ALC. And they usually will tell you somewhere how much to have. And the ASU on my 991, it's between 3 and 7 on the ALC. If you get much below that, you'll see your power go down. You can look at the output power meter. The other way to do it is just to raise that. Remember, that slider on the left right there is your transmitter gain. It is in tandem, basically in parallel with your DT gain on your Yaesus. I don't know what they call it on the icon. Your digital transmit gain, right? It's a different gain control than the mic gain. And that gain is in parallel with this. So you change one, they work together. So if you want more play, let's say you're all the way at the top, you want to be able to move from the middle, you would just go down and go to put your slider in the middle and raise up your DT gain some. But that's the other way to adjust that ALC level is with your DT gain. So you don't want too much. Again, with no other meter around, you just look at your output meter and raise that audio gain, which is what that is, until the power output doesn't go up anymore. It stops right there, no matter how much higher you push, then pull it back down till it just starts to flicker and go down a little bit. And that's going to be your ideal least distortion point of operation. And those are the important parts. You'll see guys on the waterfall. You can tell when they're overdriving it. You don't have a nice clean waterfall. It's fuzzy looking. It shoots out to the side. You'll also see, like we saw earlier, if you remember, guy was at 800. You can tell it's his second harmonic of his audio, because if you go, let's say, if you're at 1,000, he's down at 1,000. You'll see at 2,000, you'll see an identical signal, but you'll see all the different tones separated out. It doesn't help the decode, and it dirties up the band. So that's all I got for right now. But I'll be glad to hang around for any questions that anybody has or any help they need, whatever they need. And if it's not tonight, any other night, just let me know. I'll tell you,
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
a missionary. I'm a missionary for this, because I think it's good, and it'll be a lot of fun and help a lot of people and have an interest in something that's different than just sitting there and